Let me ask you something right now, and I want you to be completely honest with yourself as you listen to this. Have you ever been sitting in a room, maybe at school, maybe at work, maybe at a party or a social gathering, and your eyes just kept finding that one person, that one specific human being who seemed to have this invisible gravitational pull on your attention? And no matter how hard you tried to focus on other things, the conversation happening right next to you, the food on the table, the music playing in the background, your eyes kept drifting back to them like they were magnetic. And then, and this is the part that really gets you. You catch them looking back at you. Your heart does that thing. You know exactly what I'm talking about. That sudden, almost violent lurch in your chest. That split second where time seems to slow down just slightly, just enough to make the moment feel significant, before one of you looks away and you're both pretending it never happened. And then the questions start. Was that intentional? Did they mean to look at me, or was I just in their line of sight? Do they actually like me, or am I completely imagining this? Am I reading too much into a glance, into a smile, into the fact that they laughed a little too hard at that thing I said last Tuesday? If you have ever experienced that exact sequence of events, that beautiful, maddening, completely disorienting experience of wondering whether your crush actually likes you back, then you are in exactly the right place right now, because what we are about to go through together is going to change the way you see everything. Here is the truth that most people don't tell you about attraction. Most people want to reduce it down to simple advice. They want to say things like, just ask them out, or confidence is everything, or if they wanted to talk to you, they would. And while there's a kernel of truth in all of those statements, they completely ignore something fascinating, something deeply human, and something that psychology has spent decades studying and documenting. Human beings are incredibly bad at directly expressing their feelings, especially when those feelings involve romantic attraction. We are wired for indirect communication. We evolved in social groups where the cost of rejection was enormous, not just emotionally but socially, even physically. To be rejected by someone in your immediate community meant potential exile, humiliation, loss of status. So over thousands of years, we developed this elaborate, intricate, almost unconscious system of signals, cues, and behaviors that allow us to express interest without ever having to explicitly say, I like you. And the absolutely wild thing, we do most of this without even realizing it. Your crush might be sending you crystal clear signals right now, signals that their brain is generating automatically, signals that their body is broadcasting whether they want it to or not. And you might be completely missing them because nobody ever taught you what to look for. That is exactly what this is going to fix. Over the next period of time, we're going to go through 21 signs, not guesses, not hunches, not romantic wishful thinking, but psychologically documented, research-backed behavioral indicators that your crush is interested in you. Each sign is going to be broken down in full detail. We're going to talk about the psychology behind it, why it happens, what it looks like in practice, how to distinguish a genuine signal from a false positive, and what it means in the context of your specific situation. By the time we finish, you are going to walk away with something genuinely valuable. The ability to read people more clearly, to understand attraction on a deeper level, and, most importantly, to know, with a level of confidence you probably don't have right now, whether your crush actually likes you back. But I want to set one expectation before we dive in. No single sign on this list is definitive on its own. One smile, one glance, one moment of extended eye contact, that's not enough to conclude anything. What we're looking for is patterns, clusters of behaviors, the consistency of signals across multiple interactions. Psychology is about tendencies and probabilities, not certainties. So as we go through each sign, I want you to be thinking about whether you're seeing this once or twice, or whether this is a recurring, consistent pattern in how your crush behaves specifically around you versus how they behave around others. That distinction is everything. Are you ready? Let's get into it. Sign number 1, the eye contact that lingers just a little too long. Let's start with the most fundamental, the most ancient, and in many ways the most powerful signal in the entire human attraction system: eye contact. Eye contact is not a simple thing. We tend to treat it casually, like it's just part of normal social interaction. But from a psychological standpoint, eye contact is one of the most loaded and complex forms of communication that human beings engage in. The way someone uses their eyes tells you an enormous amount about how they feel, what they want, and most importantly, whether they are drawn to you. Here's what the research tells us, and this is genuinely fascinating. When human beings are interested in something, genuinely, viscerally interested, their pupils dilate. This is an involuntary physiological response. It's not something you can fake, and it's not something you can control. Your autonomic nervous system handles it completely outside of your conscious awareness. In studies conducted on attraction, researchers found that people rated photographs of individuals with dilated pupils as more attractive than the exact same photographs where the pupils were artificially constricted, even when the participants had no idea that the pupils were different. The attraction was happening on a completely subconscious level. But pupil dilation is hard to notice in day-to-day interactions unless you're already very close to someone. So what's the more practical, observable version of this phenomenon? Lingering eye contact. There's a normal, socially comfortable level of eye contact that people maintain in conversation. Research suggests that in typical interactions, people make eye contact about 60 to 70% of the time while listening and slightly less while speaking, typically around 40 to 60%. This creates a comfortable, socially accepted rhythm of connection and release. When someone is attracted to you, this rhythm changes. They hold eye contact for slightly longer than the social norm dictates. That fraction of a second, 2, 3, sometimes 4 seconds of sustained eye contact rather than the usual 1 or 1.5 might seem insignificant when you describe it, but in lived experience you feel it. You absolutely feel it. That is not an accident. And then there's the away and back pattern, which might be the clearest attraction signal of all. Here's how it works. Your crush is in a room with multiple people. You notice them glancing at you. You look back, they look away, quickly, sometimes with a small smile, sometimes with a slight flush, sometimes with absolutely nothing on their face except the deliberate neutrality of someone who is trying very hard to look like they weren't just looking at you. And then, a few minutes later, you notice them looking again. That pattern, look away when caught, look again, is one of the oldest and most reliable indicators of romantic interest that human psychology has documented. It happens because the person is drawn to look at you, almost compulsively, but they're also managing vulnerability. They want to look at you, but they're afraid of what it might reveal. So they look, they pull back, and then the pull towards you overwhelms the protective instinct, and they look again. There's another dimension to this that's worth exploring: the quality of the eye contact, not just the duration. Psychologists have described something called soft eye contact, where the eyes have a slightly warmer, more open quality, where the look feels more intimate and less clinical. This is different from the focused, professional eye contact you might experience in a business meeting or a serious conversation. Soft eye contact involves slightly more relaxed facial muscles around the eyes, a subtle opening of the gaze, and often, though not always, a slow blink or a slight downward tilt of the head. When your crush looks at you with that quality of gaze, when they're not just looking at you, but looking at you in a way that feels different from how they look at everyone else, that's significant. Now here's the false positive check for this sign, because we want to be rigorous here. Some people are naturally more comfortable with eye contact than others. There are individuals who make prolonged, warm eye contact with most people as a personality trait. They're expressive, they're highly socially engaged, they naturally hold eye contact as a way of connecting with people in general. If your crush is this type of person, you need to compare their eye contact with you versus their eye contact with others. Is what you're receiving different? Is it more frequent? Does it have a different quality? The signal isn't just sustained eye contact. It's sustained eye contact that is specifically calibrated toward you, that appears different from how they engage with the rest of their social world. Pay attention to this. Start observing it across multiple interactions, because eye contact, when it becomes a consistent pattern, is one of the clearest and most instinctually reliable signs that someone is drawn to you. Sign number 2. They find excuses to be physically close to you. We are going to spend some real time on this one, because it operates on such a primal, unconscious level that most people who are doing it have absolutely no idea they're doing it. Let's start with the concept of proxemics, the study of how people use physical space in social interactions. This is a field pioneered by anthropologist Edward T. Hall, and its findings are remarkably consistent across cultures and contexts. Every person has what can be conceptualized as invisible zones of personal space. The outermost zone, what Hall called public space, is roughly 12 feet and beyond. This is the distance at which you'd engage with a stranger giving a speech or a performer on a stage. The next zone, social space, is roughly 4 to 12 feet. This is the comfortable distance for casual professional interactions, talking to acquaintances, standard social encounters. Then comes personal space, which is roughly 1.5 to 4 feet. This is where we have conversations with friends, where we allow people we know well to exist in relation to us. And then there's intimate space, 18 inches and closer. This is the zone reserved for people we're very close to. Partners, family members, closest friends. Now, here's what happens when someone is attracted to you. They unconsciously migrate toward your intimate space, not in a way that feels intrusive or uncomfortable. Attraction doesn't typically manifest as socially inappropriate boundary violation. Instead, it manifests as a gradual, consistent trend toward physical closeness. They sit near you when there are other options. They lean in when speaking to you. They find reasons to be in the same physical vicinity. Think about a crowded couch. There's plenty of room for everyone to spread out comfortably, but your crush positions themselves right next to you. Is that random? Sometimes, yes. But when it happens consistently, when across multiple interactions, multiple settings, multiple opportunities, they keep ending up physically near you, that's not random anymore. That's attraction doing its quiet, invisible work. The leaning in behavior is particularly telling. When someone leans their body toward you during conversation, especially when the environment doesn't require it, there's no noise you need to speak over. There's no intimacy in the content of what's being said. That lean is a body language statement. It says, I want to be closer to you than social convention currently requires. I am voluntarily reducing the distance between us because being near you is more comfortable than being away from you. Watch for the mirrored positioning as well. When two people are mutually attracted, they often unconsciously orient their bodies toward each other. Feet pointing in your direction, torso turned toward you. The entire physical architecture of the body angled in a way that says, this person is my focus. This is called body orientation, and it's remarkably consistent in attraction contexts. There's also what I call manufactured proximity, the phenomenon where someone finds logistically unnecessary reasons to be near you. They walk the long way around to get to wherever they're going because it takes them past you. They choose the seat that's near yours when every other seat would have been equally accessible and more logical. They happen to show up in places where they know you'll be. Now, this can obviously shade into problematic territory if someone is following you around in an unwanted or obsessive way. That's not what we're describing, and that's not what this sign is about. What we're describing is the gentle, socially normal version, the person who consistently gravitates toward you in group settings, who positions themselves near you without making it obvious or weird, who seems, if you watch the pattern closely, to always end up in your orbit. The psychology behind this is beautifully simple. Physical proximity is a prerequisite for all the good things that attraction wants to lead to. Conversation, touch, connection. The body, operating ahead of conscious decision-making, begins closing the distance. It's preparation. It's the nervous system doing what the mouth is too afraid to do yet. False positive check. Some people have a naturally smaller sense of personal space. Cultural background plays a significant role here. In some cultures, close physical proximity during conversation is entirely normal and does not carry the same intimate charge it might carry in others. Again, compare their behavior with you to their behavior with others. If they stand the same distance from everyone, it's probably just their style. If they seem to gravitate specifically toward you, that's meaningful. Sign number 3, they remember the details, the small things you mentioned in passing. This is one of the most underrated, most overlooked, and, when it happens, most romantically significant signs on this entire list. And I want to make sure we give it the full treatment it deserves. Let's talk about attention and memory for a moment, because understanding how memory works will make this sign make complete sense. Human memory is not a recording device. We don't store everything with equal fidelity. What we remember, and with what level of detail we remember it, is largely determined by what we pay attention to. And what we pay attention to is largely determined by what we care about. This is called encoding, and it's one of the foundational concepts in cognitive psychology. Information that captures your attention, that engages your emotional interest, that feels significant to you. That information gets encoded more deeply into long-term memory. Information that you process passively, without genuine engagement or interest, tends to fade much more quickly. What this means in practical terms is this. If your crush remembers something specific, something small, something you mentioned only once in a brief passing moment, what they're revealing is that they were paying close, active attention to you. Not the kind of passive attention we give to things that don't particularly matter to us. Genuine, engaged, interested attention. Here's an example. You mention in conversation, not as a big deal, not as something you dwell on, just as a casual aside, that you're a little stressed because you have a presentation coming up next week. 2 weeks later, completely unprompted, your crush says, "Hey, how did that presentation go?" Think about what that requires. It requires that in the 2 weeks since that conversation, during all of their daily experiences and thoughts and interactions with other people, that specific detail about your specific situation remained accessible in their memory. They thought about you enough, with enough regularity and engagement, that the detail stayed fresh. That doesn't happen for people we're indifferent toward. That doesn't happen for acquaintances we barely think about between encounters. That happens for people who occupy our mental space, people we think about, wonder about, care about. It might be even smaller than that. They might remember a food preference you mentioned. "I thought you said you didn't like cilantro," when you're at a restaurant together. Or they might remember something you said about your family, a trip you mentioned wanting to take someday, a show you said you'd been meaning to watch. Or they might reference an inside joke from months ago, a tiny shared moment that most people would have long since let go of. Every one of these acts of memory is an act of attention. and attention is how we express what we value. There's something even deeper here worth mentioning. Remembering things about someone creates intimacy. It says, "I have been listening to you carefully. You matter enough to me that I hold on to pieces of you between our interactions." The act of bringing a remembered detail back into conversation. "Remember when you said," or "you mentioned once that," is also an act of reconnection. It's reaching across time and saying, "I was thinking about you." Now, some people are simply very good at remembering details about everyone. They have a naturally high social memory and they apply it broadly. This is worth considering, but even in these cases, there's usually a gradient. The people they like most, they remember the most about. So even if your crush is naturally detail-oriented, notice whether the level of detail they hold about you seems to exceed what they hold about others. If your crush consistently references things you've said, remembers things you've shared, follows up on things you've mentioned, understand that they are showing you in one of the most cognitively honest ways possible that you have a consistent presence in their mind. Sign number 4, their behavior changes when you enter the room. This one is something that other people often notice before you do. It's the kind of thing that your mutual friends might observe from a slightly more objective position. The thing that prompts someone to pull you aside and say, "You know they totally like you, right?" The fundamental principle here is simple. The people and things that matter to us create a measurable, observable shift in our state when they appear. We can't fully suppress this response because a significant portion of it operates at the level of the autonomic nervous system and involuntary muscle response. Let's break down the specific ways this shift might manifest. Postural change. Before you enter the room or join the group, your crush is in their baseline physical state, probably relatively relaxed, whatever their natural posture looks like. When you appear, there's often a subtle but noticeable shift toward what psychologists call attentiveness posture. The spine straightens slightly, the shoulders go back, the chest opens a little, the person becomes physically more present and alert. This isn't vanity exactly, it's the body's automatic response to the appearance of something important. It becomes more prepared, more engaged, more awake. Increased animation and energy. When someone we're attracted to enters our vicinity, we often become more talkative, more expressive, more energetic. There's a kind of social brightening that happens. People who were perhaps quiet or reserved in the group suddenly become more engaged and participatory. This is the nervous system doing its thing. The presence of the attractive person activates a state of heightened arousal and engagement, and this spills over into behavior. Grooming behaviors. This is one of the most consistent, most well-documented, and most consistently unrecognized attraction signals that psychology has identified. When someone who is attracted to you becomes aware of your presence, they often engage in automatic grooming behaviors. Men might straighten their shirt, run a hand through their hair, adjust their collar. Women might touch their hair, smooth their clothing, check their posture. These aren't conscious decisions. They're automatic preparation behaviors driven by the desire to appear attractive to the attractive person. The body, on some level, understands what the mind might still be processing, and it starts preparing accordingly. Voice changes. Research has documented that people's voices often change when speaking to someone they're attracted to. The pitch might lower slightly, associated with confidence and attractiveness. The pace might change. The voice might become slightly softer, more intimate in quality. The person might speak differently to you than they speak to the rest of the group. And this shift happens automatically without deliberate intention. The bright eyes phenomenon. When people are happy, excited, or engaged, the muscles around their eyes change in subtle ways. The eyes themselves might appear brighter, more alert. There's often an increase in eye contact and blinking rate, The presence of someone attractive genuinely triggers a neurological response that can manifest visually in the expression around the eyes. Now, here's something important about this sign. Because many of these changes are subtle and involuntary, the best way to catch them is to be positioned to observe your crush's state before they notice you, or to have trusted friends who can observe the shift and report back. This is actually great practical advice. If you have a mutual friend who your crush knows and interacts with regularly, ask them, casually, without making a huge deal of it, whether they've noticed anything different about how your crush behaves when you're around versus when you're not. A good observer will be able to tell you more than you can gather yourself, precisely because you're emotionally involved and they're not. Sign number 5. They initiate contact and they do it consistently. Let's talk about one of the clearest behavioral indicators of genuine interest: who initiates. In any relationship, friendship, romantic interest, professional relationship, patterns of initiation tell you a great deal about the distribution of desire and investment. Who texts first? Who suggests plans? Who reaches out after a period of silence? Who makes the effort to create connection? This matters enormously in the context of crushes, because initiation requires courage and vulnerability in a way that response does not. When someone initiates contact with you, especially early in the relationship, before anything has been explicitly established, they are taking a social risk. They don't know how you'll respond. They don't know if you'll be warm or cool, excited or indifferent, available or busy. They are putting themselves out there, even in a small way, with no guarantee of a positive outcome. And people generally don't take risks for people they don't care about. Here's what consistent initiation looks like in practice. They text you first. Not every single time. We all have days where we're tired or busy, or just not in the headspace for reaching out. But as a general pattern, they're the one breaking the silence. They're the one who sends the funny thing they thought of that reminded them of you. They're the one who checks in when some time has passed and asks how you're doing. They're the one who suggests actually getting together. We should hang out sometime is one thing. Pretty much everyone says that. But, hey, I found this really cool coffee place. Do you want to check it out Saturday? That's specific. That's a real invitation. That's someone who thought about you, thought about an activity, connected the two, and took the initiative to make a concrete proposal. They find reasons to reach out that are often thinly veiled as practical or casual. Hey, I saw this article and it reminded me of what you were saying the other day. I just watched that show you mentioned. I have thoughts. I'm going to be near where you work this afternoon. Do you want to grab lunch? These all have a plausible, casual surface explanation, but notice what they have in common. You were on their mind, and they found a way to act on that. Digital initiation is particularly meaningful in the modern context, and here's why. Sending a message requires almost no effort mechanically, but it requires a decision. Every time someone sends you a message, they made the decision to reach out to you rather than any of the 100 other things they could be doing at that moment. When that decision gets made consistently, when you're on the receiving end of regular, unprompted initiation, that decision pattern is telling you something real about where you sit in their priorities. Now, some people are naturally high initiators. They're socially generous. They reach out to lots of people frequently. They're just more active in maintaining their social connections. Again, compare. Are they initiating with everyone at roughly the same rate? Or do their initiations toward you seem more frequent, more creative, more personally tailored? And pay attention to the content of what they initiate. If someone texts you specifically because something reminded them of you, that's significant. That means you crossed their mind in a moment when you weren't together, and they felt compelled enough to reach out and tell you. That's attraction doing quiet, beautiful work. Sign number 6. They laugh more around you, and they think you're funnier than you probably are. Now here's one that's going to make you feel both seen and slightly humbled, because it comes with a caveat that most people aren't prepared for. Research in social psychology, and this is genuinely one of the most replicated and well-established findings in the study of attraction, consistently demonstrates that people find others more amusing, more witty, more generally funny when they are attracted to them. This is not a trivial observation. It fundamentally affects how we experience our interactions with attractive people. Let's unpack why. Laughter and humor serve a crucial social and evolutionary function. They signal safety, compatibility, and connection. Shared laughter is one of the fastest routes to intimacy. When two people find the same thing funny, there's an implicit alignment of perspective. A moment of genuine shared experience that bonds people together. And because we are social creatures who are profoundly wired for connection, laughter with someone we're attracted to feels particularly good, particularly meaningful. But there's more to it than that. When you're attracted to someone, you're in a state of heightened positive affect. Basically, your brain is running slightly hotter in terms of positive emotional processing. This heightened state makes positive stimuli, including humor, feel more rewarding. A joke that would land as a mild chuckle from a stranger lands as genuinely funny from an attractive person. Not necessarily because it's objectively funnier, but because the emotional context surrounding it is different. There's also a component of social motivation. When we want to connect with someone, we want to be in a positive, enjoyable, warm interaction with them. Laughing together creates that. So there may be a slight positive lean in how we process their humor. We're motivated to find them funny, because finding them funny leads to laughter, which leads to connection, which is exactly what attraction is pushing us toward. What does this look like practically? Your crush laughs at things you say that, if you're being honest, probably weren't your absolute best material. They find you charming in moments where you're not particularly trying to be charming. They smile more readily around you. They're more easily amused by you than by other people. And this is the flip side of the same phenomenon. They also find themselves funnier around you. When we're attracted to someone, we want them to be happy around us, to associate us with good feelings. So we often step up our humor around them, try to be more entertaining, more playful. We want to make them laugh because making the person we like laugh feels amazing. Watch for this too. When your crush makes a joke in a group, where do their eyes go when they're waiting to see how it lands? If they consistently look to you first, if your reaction is the one they're seeking out when they say something they hope will be funny, that's extraordinarily meaningful. We seek validation and approval from the people who matter most to us. If you've become the person whose laugh they're working for, whose reaction they're watching for, you've become important to them in a very particular way. Sign number 7. They engage with your social media in specific, consistent patterns. Let's step into the modern context for a moment, because attraction in the 21st century leaves a digital trail that previous generations never had to analyze, and that trail can be genuinely informative if you know what to look for. First, let's establish some basic parameters. Social media engagement is a spectrum. At the low engagement end, you have people who might occasionally stumble across your content and give it a passive like. At the high engagement end, you have people who are actively, consistently tracking your activity. Most people who are attracted to someone fall somewhere in the middle to upper range of this spectrum, and the pattern of their engagement, not just the existence of it, but the consistency, the timing, and the specificity, tells the story. Consistent, rapid engagement. If someone likes or reacts to your posts very quickly after you post them, not every single time, but frequently, what that tells you is that when your post appeared in their feed, it was something they paid attention to. We scroll social media incredibly fast. Most content gets a fraction of a second of attention before we move on. When someone slows down, registers your post, and actually engages with it consistently, they're spending specific attention on your content. Engagement on older content. This is the phenomenon colloquially known as deep liking, when someone engages with content that's significantly older than what's currently on the front of your feed. This requires going to your profile, scrolling back, and engaging with things you posted weeks or months ago. This is deliberate profile exploration. This is someone who was curious enough about you to go looking. Now, this can sometimes be a bit awkward when it happens. Both parties know what it means, but the impulse behind it is pure, simple. They wanted to know more about you, so they went looking. Responding to stories. On platforms where temporary content, stories, status updates exists, the people who respond to your stories are making a much more active choice than the people who just passively view them. Viewing takes zero effort. Responding requires finding something to say, choosing to say it, and sending it. When your crush consistently engages with your stories, and especially when their responses feel like opportunities to start conversation rather than just reactive comments, they're using the architecture of social media to maintain connection with you. The comment that's more than a comment. Anyone can leave an emoji. A comment that's thoughtful, specific, funny, personal. A comment that demonstrates they actually engaged with what you posted and have something specific to say about it. That's a real act of investment. And comments are public, which means leaving a meaningful comment on your post is also a mild form of public declaration. They're not just reaching out to you, they're doing it where people can see, DMing things they find on the internet. When someone sends you memes, articles, videos, links, when they're essentially curating the internet on your behalf and sharing things they think you'll find interesting or funny, pay attention to how often this happens and how tailored the selections are. Generic, shareable to anyone content is one thing. Content that's specifically relevant to something you've discussed, to your particular sense of humor, to your specific interests. That's someone who was thinking about you specifically. Now, the honest caveat: social media behavior is complicated by anxiety, social norms, and the fact that some people are simply more active on social platforms than others. Some people like everything because it's their social media style. Some people never engage with anything for privacy reasons, even if they follow your content closely. So digital signals need to be contextualized within someone's overall online behavior patterns. But when someone who is moderately active on social media is significantly more active in their engagement with your content than with others, the pattern is telling you something. Sign number 8. They ask you personal questions and they really listen to the answers. Here's a truth about human conversation that most people have never had articulated to them. Most conversation is not actually about the other person. A huge proportion of human communication, even in what we'd classify as casual social conversation, is really about the speaker. We share our opinions. We tell stories about ourselves. We explain our perspectives. We offer our takes. And this is fine. It's normal. It's how conversation works. But it means that when someone genuinely deviates from this pattern, when they turn the full attention of their questions and they're listening toward you, it's actually somewhat unusual and extremely significant. When your crush asks you personal questions, they're doing something interesting. They're not just gathering information in the dry, factual sense. They're expressing curiosity about you as a person. They want to know who you are. Not just the surface facts of your existence, but the contours of your inner life, your history, your hopes, your perspectives. They're treating you as someone worth understanding. The type of questions matter here. There are surface questions. What do you do? Where are you from? What kind of music do you like? These are the standard social lubricant questions that we use to warm up interactions. They're fine and appropriate, but they're not particularly revealing of interest. Then there are deeper questions. questions about your family, your childhood, your dreams, your fears, your opinions about meaningful things. Questions that require you to be somewhat vulnerable in your answer. Questions that can't be answered in one sentence and then deflected. Questions like, what made you choose to pursue what you're doing? Or, what's something you've always wanted to do but haven't done yet? Or, what's the thing you care about most? Or even, what's something people usually get wrong about you? These are questions that say, I want to know the real you. I'm not satisfied with the public-facing version of who you are. I'm interested in depth. And then, here's the second, equally important part of this sign. They actually listen. We are incredibly poor listeners as a species most of the time. We listen just enough to know when to speak again, to identify the points we want to respond to catch the threads we want to pull on for our own storytelling. Real listening, active, engaged, fully present listening, is rare. You know what real listening looks like. It's someone whose eyes are on you, not drifting around the room. It's someone who doesn't interrupt or redirect to a story about themselves. It's someone who asks follow-up questions that demonstrate they were tracking exactly what you said. Not general follow-ups, but specific ones. Wait, you said your mum did that. What did she mean by it? It's someone who remembers what you said and brings it back later. When your crush listens to you like this, when they make you feel like the most interesting person in the room, not through flattery, but through genuine attentiveness, that is one of the most profound forms of attraction expression possible. It's saying, you matter to me. What you think and feel and experience matters to me. I want to understand you. And psychologically, this creates a powerful feedback loop. Feeling genuinely heard and understood by someone triggers a warm, connected feeling in us. Researchers call this feeling felt. We naturally feel closer to and more positive about people who make us feel truly seen. Your crush might be doing this intuitively, driven by genuine interest, and as a result, you feel particularly comfortable and connected around them. That's not an accident. That's what attraction looks like when it's intelligent and genuine. Sign number 9, they find reasons to touch you. Physical touch is one of the most powerful forms of human communication, and in the context of attraction, it is one of the clearest behavioral signals your body can send or receive. Let's start with some foundational psychology here. Touch, appropriate, consensual, socially contextualized touch, does something extraordinary in the human nervous system. It releases oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone, which creates feelings of warmth, trust, and connection. It lowers cortisol, the stress hormone. It activates the reward pathways in the brain. Touch, in short, makes us feel good and feel connected. And here's the crucial thing. When someone is attracted to another person, they are drawn, often unconsciously, to find opportunities for touch. Not because they've consciously decided, I will touch this person to signal my interest, although sometimes that's a deliberate strategy, but because the presence of the attractive person activates the desire for closeness and connection, and touch is the most direct physical expression of closeness and connection. The specific touches to pay attention to in an early interest context are what researchers call incidental and affiliative touches. These are light, brief, socially appropriate touches that occur in the natural flow of interaction. The hand on the arm during conversation, often accompanying a point of emphasis or laughter. The brief touch on the shoulder during greeting or departure. The adjustment of something on your clothing, a collar, a piece of lint, which creates an intimate proximity and touch that's socially justified by the practical action. The congratulatory touch, the pat on the back, the squeeze of the arm, during a moment of success or celebration. The playful push or nudge during light-hearted interaction. The lingering contact during moments of touch that normally wouldn't linger. A handshake that lasts a moment longer than necessary. a hug that's slightly warmer and longer than the context demands. None of these individually are definitive, but the pattern, the frequency, the consistency, and the way these touches seem to happen more with you than with others tells a story. There's also something called touch reciprocation testing, which is a well-documented phenomenon in courtship behavior. This is when someone initiates a very small, low-stakes touch, something easily excused as incidental, and then observes whether the other person responds positively, leaning in slightly, smiling, not pulling away, or negatively, pulling back, stiffening, redirecting their body. The positive response encourages a gradual escalation in the intimacy of subsequent touches. The negative response tells them to back off. When you observe someone engaging in this pattern around you specifically, trying these small reaches toward physical connection and seeming to take quiet note of how you respond, you're watching attraction navigate its way toward expression in real time. Important caveat: all of this assumes a context of appropriate behavior. Touch without clear positive response, or in contexts where it's unwanted, is a different matter entirely. What we're describing here is mutual, contextually appropriate physical connection that seems to flow naturally from genuine warmth and attraction. Also worth noting, some people are naturally very tactile. They're touchers. They express warmth and enthusiasm through physical contact with most of the people in their lives. Again, compare behavior. Does your crush touch everyone frequently, or does there seem to be a specific warmth and frequency in how they initiate contact with you? Sign number 10. They get nervous around you in specific, telltale ways. This is one of the most endearing and also most misread signs on the entire list, so I want to be very precise about it. When people are attracted to someone, they often experience a state of heightened physiological arousal in that person's presence. This is essentially the same neurological and physiological response as anxiety. The heart beats faster. The hands might become slightly damp. The mouth might get dry. The brain temporarily loses some of its normal fluid processing capacity. Adrenaline and norepinephrine are released. The difference between attraction, arousal, and anxiety is largely in how we interpret the feeling. Researchers have actually demonstrated that the physiological states are remarkably similar and that we can mistake one for the other. But in the context of being around someone we're attracted to, we experience this arousal as a combination of excitement and nervousness. And this internal experience leaves observable external traces. Fidgeting. When people are in a state of nervous excitement, they often engage in small, self-regulating physical behaviors, adjusting clothing, touching their face, playing with objects in their hands, shifting their weight. These are self-soothing behaviors that help manage the arousal state. If you notice your crush fidgeting more in your presence than they seem to in other situations, that elevated arousal state is worth noting. Speech changes. The nervous system's effect on the voice and speech when aroused is well documented. People might speak faster than usual. They might stumble over words, lose their train of thought mid-sentence, mix up their words in ways that seem uncharacteristic. The brain is partly occupied with managing the emotional state of being near you, which temporarily reduces the cognitive resources available for smooth, fluid speech. Blushing. This is perhaps the most universally recognized and least controllable sign of emotional arousal in social contexts. Blushing is caused by the dilation of blood vessels in the face in response to social emotion, embarrassment, excitement, attraction, being caught out. It is entirely involuntary. You genuinely cannot choose not to blush. So when you notice someone flushing when they're near you, or when you make eye contact with them, or when they're the subject of teasing from friends about you, that flush is completely honest. It bypasses all the layers of social management and tells you directly about the internal emotional state. Nervous laughter. There's a specific kind of laughter that isn't really about humor at all. It's about managing social nervousness. It's a slightly too enthusiastic laugh at something that wasn't particularly funny, or a light, relieving laugh at the end of a slightly tense moment. When someone laughs in this way around you, especially at their own expense, or at moments where they've just said something and seem to be nervously checking whether you found it good, they're managing the nervousness of wanting to make a good impression on you. Over-preparation. If you notice that your crush seems to have thought very carefully about interactions with you before they happen, they mention something they prepared to tell you, or they seem to have almost rehearsed certain things, or they're aware of details about you that suggest prior thought and planning, that's someone who was mentally with you before they were physically with you. One of the most beautiful and slightly heartbreaking aspects of this sign is that it often coexists with the person being outwardly confident in most areas of their life. You might know your crush as someone self-assured, socially easy, smooth in most settings, and yet around you specifically, there are these small cracks in the composure, these tells that something about you gets to them in a way other things don't. That specific, selective nervousness, the nervousness that seems to be triggered specifically by you, is one of the most honest and touching signs of attraction that exists. It means you matter enough to them to make them nervous. You have a real effect on them. They care about what you think of them. Sign number 11. Their friends know about you and behave accordingly. This is one of those signs that is sometimes embarrassing for everyone involved, but is also one of the most reliable indicators of genuine, serious interest you can find. And the psychology behind it is both simple and profound. Here's the truth about human romantic interest. We talk about it. When we like someone, when someone has gotten under our skin, when we find ourselves thinking about them consistently, when we're caught up in the exciting, anxiety-inducing experience of genuinely caring about someone and wondering if they feel the same. We talk about it with our closest people. We need to process it. We need to get perspective. We need to share the experience because it's too big to hold entirely alone. Your crush has almost certainly talked about you to their friends. If they like you in any meaningful, consistent way, if you're occupying real estate in their mind between your interactions, their friends know about you, possibly in more detail than you'd be comfortable knowing. And friends, bless them, are terrible at hiding this knowledge. Here's what it looks like when your crush's friends know about you. They know your name before you've been introduced. You're meeting your crush's friend group for the first time, and someone says, "Oh, I've heard so much about you," or "You're your name, right?" That means you came up in conversation enough for your name to have been passed along. That's meaningful. They watch the two of you closely. If you're in a group setting with your crush and their friends, pay attention to whether the friends seem to be observing your interactions with a quality of attention that exceeds normal social curiosity. They're watching the dynamic. They already know the story, and they're watching it unfold in real time. They tease your crush about you. This one is almost universally true among close friend groups where one person has a crush. The friends will tease, make pointed jokes, raise their eyebrows at strategic moments, or make comments that seem to have a private significance that you're not fully privy to. When this teasing causes your crush visible embarrassment, a flush, a stop it directed at their friend, a desperate attempt to change the subject, what you're seeing is the consequence of having told those friends about you. They engineer opportunities. Crush's friends who know about their feelings for you sometimes take it upon themselves to create situations where the two of you might connect. They make sure you end up at the same gathering. They happen to step away right when you and your crush are left alone. They champion your cause in group decisions about activities and seating. They're warmer with you than the situation justifies. If people you've barely met are treating you with a level of warmth and friendliness that exceeds what you'd normally expect from strangers, it might be because you're not really a stranger to them. You've been discussed, probably positively, and they've already formed a picture of you through their friend's perspective. The psychology here is clear. We share what matters to us with the people we're closest to. The fact that your crush has shared you, made you a topic of conversation, a subject of their narrative, means you occupy a meaningful position in their emotional life. You're not a casual, interchangeable presence. You're the kind of presence that makes them need to talk. Sign number 12. They mirror your body language. Welcome to one of the most fascinating pieces of psychology on this entire list. A phenomenon that operates almost entirely below the level of conscious awareness and has been documented consistently across cultures, contexts, and types of social interaction. It's called behavioral mimicry, or in the context of attraction, mirroring, and it is extraordinary. Here's what happens. When we feel connected to someone, when we like them, when we feel in sync with them, our bodies unconsciously begin to imitate their posture, gestures, expressions, and movements. We mirror them. This is not a deliberate decision. It happens automatically, driven by the limbic system and the network of mirror neurons that science has been exploring for decades. Mirror neurons are among the most remarkable discoveries in neuroscience. They fire both when we perform an action and when we observe someone else performing the same action. They are the neurological basis of empathy. They're how we feel what others are feeling, rather than just observing it intellectually. And in close, positive social interactions, they drive us toward physical synchrony with the people we're bonding with. In the context of attraction, mirroring becomes a particularly robust and consistent signal. Here's what it looks like. Your crush takes a sip of their drink. Within a few seconds, you find yourself taking a sip of yours. Or you cross your legs one way, and they cross their legs the same way shortly after. You lean your head on your hand, and somehow, without having consciously noticed, they're doing the same thing. The gestures don't have to be exact replicas. They're often transposed or slightly modified. If you tilt your head to the right, they might tilt their head to the left. If you lean forward, they lean forward. If you slow your speech down, they slow theirs. If you smile with particular warmth, that warmth is reflected back at you. There's also vocal mirroring, which is less visually obvious but equally real. People who are attracted to each other often unconsciously match each other's speech patterns, vocabulary, pace, and rhythm. You might find yourself using a phrase that you heard them use, or they start using a phrase you favor. Your speech rates align. Your tones converge. What does mirroring mean psychologically? It means connection. It means the person is so engaged and attuned to you that their body is syncing with yours without them even knowing it. It's one of the most sincere compliments a nervous system can pay. It says, "I am so with you right now. I am tracking you so closely. I am so present in our interaction that my body is reflecting yours back at you." When two people are mutually attracted, mirroring tends to become mutual, each person mirroring the other in a kind of continuous feedback loop of physical synchrony that researchers have called behavioral entrainment. If you're in a conversation with your crush and you both seem to be physically aligned, leaning the same direction, using similar gestures, matching each other's rhythms, that's entrainment happening, and it's one of the most beautiful and honest expressions of genuine connection. To observe this in your interactions, watch for your crush's body positioning about 30 to 60 seconds after you shift yours. Does it change to match? Watch for them adopting expressions you've just made. Watch for the vocal patterns. If you see consistent mirroring across multiple interactions, trust it. It's honest. It's the body saying what the voice hasn't said yet. Sign number 13. They get a little bit jealous, even when they have no official reason to. Jealousy is a complex, often uncomfortable emotion, and I want to approach this carefully and honestly rather than romanticizing it. Because in its extreme forms, jealousy is a serious problem that causes real harm. But in its mild, instinctive, early attraction manifestations, it is one of the most honest psychological indicators of genuine romantic interest. Here's the fundamental psychology. Jealousy in the context of early attraction arises from the intersection of desire and the fear of loss. You haven't lost anything yet. You haven't even gained anything yet. But you're already attached enough to the idea of the person, already invested enough in the possibility of them, that the threat of someone else claiming that possibility triggers a protective emotional response. It's irrational in a certain light, because your crush has no claim on you and hasn't made any. But emotion isn't always rational, and the presence of mild jealousy tells you with quiet certainty that this person cares about the possibility of you, and they're afraid to lose it before they've even had it. What does this look like in practice? When you mention someone of the gender they'd be attracted to, a friend, a co-worker, someone you've been spending time with, watch their face and their body. Does something shift? Is there a slight tightening? A brief, carefully managed flicker of something that they then smooth over with casual interest? Oh yeah, who's that? Watch how they respond when others show interest in you publicly. If someone else in the group is clearly flirting with you or paying you particular attention, how does your crush handle it? Do they become quieter? Do they try to subtly insert themselves back into your attention? Do they seem slightly off for a little while afterward? Watch for the protective instinct. Sometimes mild jealousy manifests not as obvious withdrawal, but as an instinct to get close, to reassert presence, to remind you, without saying anything directly, that they're there. They might subtly position themselves between you and the person who's showing interest. They might find a reason to engage with you directly, creating a moment of connection that's slightly at odds with the group dynamic. They're not doing this consciously necessarily, they're just being pulled by the emotional current. Watch for the questions. Are you and person they're worried about close? Have you known them for a long time? Do you hang out with them a lot? These are reconnaissance questions. They're trying to understand the landscape of your relationships without being obvious about why they're asking. Now, and I want to be very clear about this, none of this should be interpreted as a requirement. Jealousy is not proof of love. Jealousy in its excessive, controlling, manipulative forms is a serious red flag, not a sign of deep feeling worth celebrating. What we're describing here is the faint, involuntary, honest flicker of caring that becomes worried, not possessiveness, not controlling behavior. The person who cares about you, but is modest about what they have a right to feel, will often experience this mild jealousy and then manage it, suppress it, rationalize it away. But it shows in the small moments, and if you're paying attention, those small moments tell you something true. Sign number 14. They go out of their way to help you. Acts of service as a love language is a concept that most people are familiar with by now, and the research behind it is genuinely robust. But let's go deeper than the surface concept, because what we're really exploring here is a fascinating aspect of how attraction rewires our motivational system. When we are attracted to someone, genuinely, meaningfully attracted, they enter a special category in our psychological framework. They become what researchers might call a significant other, in the broadest sense. Someone whose well-being matters to us beyond the normal bounds of social obligation. And this shift in how much their well-being matters creates a corresponding shift in our behavior. We become motivated to do things for them, not because we're calculating what we'll get in return, not because social norms require it, but because helping them, seeing them benefit, witnessing the positive impact of something we did for them, feels genuinely rewarding. Their positive outcome produces positive emotion in us. That's attachment. That's the beginning of love, really. So what does this look like? Your crush offers to help you with something without being asked. Not in the generic way that people offer help in theory, let me know if you need anything, but in a specific, actually useful way. They notice you're struggling with something and step in. They offer their skills, their time, their resources. They do things for you that are effortful and inconvenient. Not easy, low-cost things, but things that actually require something of them. Driving out of their way to help you move something heavy. Spending time they don't have helping you prepare for something important. Using their connections on your behalf. Going out of their way, literally, metaphorically, because getting to you is worth the effort. They anticipate your needs. This is particularly striking when it happens, when someone does something for you before you've expressed a need for it, because they were paying close enough attention to notice what you might need. They bring you coffee without being asked because they know how you take it, and they noticed you looked tired. They share information you'd find useful because they were thinking about your situation. They handle something that was going to be a problem for you because they thought ahead. They show up. When things are hard, when you're going through something difficult, when you need support, they're there. Not because it's easy or convenient, but because the instinct to be present for you is stronger than the instinct to stay comfortable. This isn't just they're nice people. Nice people are nice broadly. What you're looking for is a specific orientation toward you, a specific willingness to invest energy and effort in your well-being that exceeds what they invest for most people. When you become someone's person, even in the unspoken, not yet official way of early attraction, you can see it in how they treat you, how they show up, what they're willing to do. Sign number 15. They're fully present when you're together, phones down, eyes up. In the modern world, in the age of the smartphone, the constant notification, the endless scroll of content competing for our attention, presence is one of the rarest and most meaningful gifts one person can give another. Think about your typical social interactions. How often is everyone genuinely fully present? No phones out. No glancing at screens. No splitting of attention between the person in front of you and whatever might be happening elsewhere. Real presence, the kind where you feel like someone is fully with you, giving you everything they have, is increasingly rare. And when someone is genuinely attracted to you, they tend to give you this. Not because they've consciously decided to perform attentiveness, but because being with you is more interesting and rewarding than whatever else is competing for their attention. When your crush is with you, are they fully there? Is their phone face down or put away? When it goes off, do they ignore it, at least in the moment, rather than immediately checking it? Do their eyes stay on you during conversation, rather than drifting around the room? When you're talking, are they listening, actually listening, or are they distracted? Compare this to their behavior in other social situations. We all know people who are notorious phone checkers in group settings, who are always half engaged with whatever's happening on their screen. If your crush is like this in general but puts the phone away when they're with you, or if they're normally present but seem especially focused and attentive in your company, that deliberate shift in attention is significant. There's also the quality of their mental presence, separate from phone behavior. When someone is genuinely attracted to you and invested in your interaction, you feel it. There's a responsiveness, an aliveness to the conversation that you can sense intuitively. They respond to the nuances of what you say. They pick up on the emotional subtexts. They laugh at the right moments, get serious at the right moments, ask follow-ups that demonstrate tracking. This is not something you can perform convincingly if you're not actually there with someone. Being fully present with someone is an act of profound respect and care. It says, right now, you are my priority. What we have together in this moment is more important to me than the 100 other things I could be attending to. In a world that is designed to fracture our attention into 1,000 pieces, choosing to give someone your whole attention is one of the most meaningful things you can do. When your crush does this for you consistently, when being with you seems to pull them away from everything else and into genuine full presence, you are witnessing attraction in one of its most honest expressions. Sign number 16. They open up to you in ways they don't with others. Vulnerability is terrifying. This is a fundamental truth of human psychology, and it doesn't matter how confident, how socially skilled, or how emotionally intelligent someone is. The act of exposing your authentic inner life to another person involves real risk. The risk of being judged, the risk of being misunderstood, the risk of having your realness used against you somehow. We manage this risk by carefully controlling how much of ourselves we reveal and to whom. Most people operate at a surface level in most of their relationships, keeping things light, keeping things safe, maintaining the curated version of themselves that feels manageable and acceptable. When someone is attracted to you and starting to trust you, this changes. They start telling you things, real things, not the edited highlight reel of their life, but the actual truth of what they're experiencing, their worries, their history, the parts of their story they don't share easily, the dreams that feel too fragile to expose to judgment, the fears that feel too embarrassing to voice to most people. This isn't something people do casually or with everyone. It's not something that happens without a specific feeling of safety and connection driving it. When your crush starts opening up to you, really opening up, in ways that go beyond what they share publicly or broadly, they're making a choice, even if it doesn't feel fully conscious. They're choosing to trust you with the real version of themselves. And here's the psychological dimension that makes this particularly significant in the context of attraction. Vulnerability breeds closeness, and closeness breeds deeper attraction. When someone opens up to another person and is received with warmth, with acceptance, with genuine care rather than judgment, the bond between them deepens significantly. Your crush might be opening up to you partly because they're drawn to you, and partly because the opening up itself is creating even deeper feelings of connection and attraction. It's a beautiful, reinforcing loop. Watch for the moments when the conversation shifts, when you go from talking about light surface things to talking about something real, when they say, "I don't usually talk about this," and then talk about it anyway. When they share something and then seem briefly vulnerable in the aftermath, watching your face to see how you received it. When they tell you something about their past or their inner life, and there's a specific quality to the telling, a sense that this matters, that they mean it, that they're letting you in. If your crush consistently brings the conversation to real, meaningful places with you, if they seem to find depth naturally when they're with you, even if they maintain a lighter surface with others, you have become a safe person for them. That's not a small thing. That's the inner world beginning to open its door. Sign number 17. They find excuses to make plans with you, and they follow through. We have talked about initiation already, but this sign goes one specific layer deeper: the follow-through. Here's something worth understanding about human social behavior. Making plans is easy. Saying, "we should hang out," is so universal as to be nearly meaningless. Most people have a large number of "we should get together soon" relationships, connections where the intention is genuinely warm, but the activation energy to turn intention into action never quite materializes. What separates genuine, attraction-driven interest from warm but vague social goodwill is follow-through, execution. The person who doesn't just say, "we should do that sometime," but who says, "I found a place that has exactly what we were talking about. Are you free Thursday, or would Saturday work better?" Specificity is key. Vague plans signal vague interest. Specific plans, specific times, specific places, specific activities that seem chosen with you in mind signal genuine, motivated interest. When someone genuinely wants to spend time with you, they make it happen. They navigate around obstacles. If the first time they suggest doesn't work, they don't just drop it and wait for you to initiate. They propose another time. Because for them, the goal is actually seeing you, and they're not going to let scheduling friction get between them and that goal. They also suggest activities that demonstrate attentiveness. If they've been paying attention, and we've established that people who are attracted to you pay particular attention, their planned suggestions will reflect things you've mentioned, things you enjoy, things that are specifically tailored to your interests rather than generically chosen. This is another small act of memory and care. They've been listening to you, cataloging what you love, and using that information to create experiences that will delight you. Follow-through also speaks to reliability and respect. Cancelled plans, perpetual rescheduling, always being definitely going to make this happen without it ever actually happening. These are signs that someone is interested in the idea of you more than in the reality of time with you. Consistent, reliable follow-through, on the other hand, says, "You are worth organizing my life around. Getting to you is worth the logistical effort." And there's something else worth noting here. The person who likes you will often suggest plans that create natural opportunities for the connection to deepen. They're not just suggesting group hangouts where you'll be one of many. They're finding reasons for one-on-one time, or they're maneuvering situations so that some portion of the event is meaningfully just the two of you. This isn't manipulation. It's the organic impulse of attraction, which wants more intimacy, more closeness, more opportunity for real connection. Sign number 18. They mirror your emotional states. They celebrate with you and hurt with you. This is perhaps one of the deepest and most profound signs on this list, and it gets less attention than the more obviously observable behavioral signs. But from a psychological standpoint, it might be one of the most meaningful indicators of genuine attachment. When someone is beginning to genuinely care about you, when their emotional investment in you has moved beyond casual interest into something that resembles real connection, their emotional life begins to become linked to yours in a meaningful way. Your good news becomes genuinely good for them. Your difficult days create genuine concern in them. This is emotional empathy in its most personal and direct form, and it's distinct from general compassion or politeness. General compassion says, "I'm sorry to hear that," because social norms require it. Genuine empathetic concern says, "I'm sorry to hear that," and it shows in their face, their tone, the fact that they check in later, the fact that your difficult thing stayed with them. When you share good news, an achievement, an exciting development, something you're really happy about, watch how your crush responds. There's a spectrum here. At the low investment end, there's polite acknowledgement. "Oh, cool, congrats." This is social norm. At the high investment end, there's genuine shared joy. Their face lights up. They want to hear everything about it. Their delight is palpable and real. They're happy because you're happy, and your happiness has actually moved something in them. This kind of mirrored joy is sometimes called positive emotional resonance, the capacity to genuinely feel someone else's positive experience as positive for yourself. It's not as easy or automatic as we might think. We tend to be genuinely happy for people we love. For people we're indifferent to, their success is neutral, pleasant to hear about perhaps, but not something that produces real positive emotion in us. When your crush genuinely lights up at your good news, when they're as excited as you are, or almost, when their joy for you seems real and embodied rather than performed, that's attachment. That's love in its early emerging form. The other side of this is equally important. When you're struggling, how do they show up? Do they seem genuinely concerned, genuinely wanting to help, or at least to listen? Do they check in on you after a difficult thing? Does your difficulty seem to actually affect them emotionally, not in an overwhelming or codependent way, but in the way that people who genuinely care about someone are affected by that person's pain? Being witnessed in your suffering by someone who is genuinely affected by it is one of the most profoundly intimate human experiences. And when your crush provides that, when they sit with you in your difficulties with real empathy and concern rather than social obligation, you are seeing genuine emotional investment. You matter to them. What happens to you happens to them a little bit. Sign number 19. They're curious about your past and your future. Time is a fascinating dimension through which to observe attraction, because the direction of someone's curiosity tells you where they're placing you in the story of their life. When we're interested in someone only in the casual, surface-level way, as an acquaintance, as a pleasant interaction, as someone we enjoy but aren't particularly invested in, our interest tends to be pretty present-focused. We enjoy them in the context of the current moment and don't think much about where they've been or where they're going. When we're genuinely attracted to someone, our curiosity expands in both temporal directions. We want to understand who they are, and who they are includes who they've been and who they're becoming. Curiosity about the past manifests as questions about your history, your childhood, your family, your early friendships, how you became interested in the things you love, what you were like when you were younger, formative experiences that shaped you, the story of how you became who you are right now. These questions are intimate in a specific way. They're saying, I want to know more of you than what I can see right now. I want to understand the journey that led you here. I'm interested not just in the present version of you, but in the whole of you. The parts that existed before me, the experiences that made you. This kind of curiosity about someone's past is typically only motivated by genuine affection and interest. You ask about someone's history because you care about the full picture, because you want to understand them deeply, because the more you know about them, the richer your experience of them becomes. Curiosity about the future is perhaps even more significant in terms of attraction signals, because it implies something quite specific. They're imagining you in the future. When your crush asks where you want to be in 5 years, what you dream about doing, where you want to travel, what you want your life to look like, when they seem genuinely invested in understanding your future aspirations, there's often an implicit question underneath it. Not conscious necessarily, but present in the psychological architecture of why they're asking, is there room for me in the future you're describing? Do the trajectories of our lives point anywhere in the same direction? People who picture themselves with someone in the future become curious about that future, and the curiosity reveals the imagining. Watch especially for the moments when your crush says things like, "We should do that together," in response to something you share about the future, or when they file away your dream and later propose something that seems inspired by it. These are people who are building a mental model of a shared future, even if they haven't admitted that to themselves or to anyone else. Sign number 20. They treat you differently, and they seem aware of the difference. We have touched on this idea in various forms throughout our journey through these signs, but it deserves its own dedicated exploration because it is, in many ways, the meta-signal that integrates all the others. Here is a simple, powerful truth. We behave differently around people who are important to us than around people who aren't. We can't fully help it, even when we're trying to. The things we do, the way we speak, the energy we bring, the care we take, all of these are modulated by how much someone matters to us. When your crush treats you differently, noticeably, specifically differently from how they treat everyone else in the group, they are revealing the fact that you occupy a different category for them. You're not one of many. You're distinct. You're special in their perception, and their behavior reflects that without them necessarily intending to make it obvious. This difference might manifest in all of the ways we've been discussing: more eye contact, more physical closeness, more laughter, more attention, more care. But it also shows in subtler things. They remember the specifics of conversations with you, but not with others. They show a kind of warmth toward you that's slightly different in quality from their general warmth. They're more careful with you, more thoughtful about how they phrase things, more attentive to your reactions, more invested in the impression they're making. They're more generous with their time and attention when it comes to you. They go the extra mile for you in ways they don't go the extra mile for everyone. And here's the part about awareness. Often, when people treat someone they're attracted to differently, they're at least dimly aware of it, even if they're not fully conscious of why. They might make a joke about how they always end up talking to you at these things, a kind of acknowledgement, through humor, of the pattern they've noticed in their own behavior. They might seem slightly caught off guard when someone points out the difference. They might be able to acknowledge, when directly asked, that you're different to them somehow, even if they're not ready to fully articulate what that means. The treatment differential is significant because it can't really be faked, not consistently. Social performance requires effort and attention, and our limited cognitive resources mean we can't maintain constant performance. What we do naturally, consistently, and across multiple contexts reveals our genuine feelings more reliably than anything we could say. If you watch the way your crush behaves with you versus with everyone else, and the difference is clear and consistent and goes in the direction of more care, more attention, more warmth, more investment, you have your answer. People don't do this for people who don't matter to them. People just don't. Sign number 21. They find ways to let you know you matter without quite saying it. And now we come to the 21st and final sign, and I've saved this one for last because it is, in my view, the most profound and the most telling of all. Human beings, for all our complexity, are fundamentally simple in this one regard. We want the people who matter to us to know that they matter to us. We want them to feel it, to understand it, to carry the knowledge of it with them. The drive toward expressing this feeling is powerful, even when it's frightening, even when we're not ready to be explicit about it. So when someone is attracted to you, when you've become important to them in a way they're not quite ready to put into words, they find other ways to let you know. Indirect ways, plausibly deniable ways, ways that allow them to express something real while maintaining enough ambiguity to protect them from the full vulnerability of explicit declaration. These are the moments that you feel but sometimes can't quite name. The message that says, "I saw this and thought of you," when the thing they saw is something very specifically aligned with your inner world. The compliment that's just specific enough to reveal close attention. Not "you're funny," but "the way you said that thing earlier actually made my day." The moment of lingering when you both know the interaction is over. Both of you standing there, conversation technically complete, neither of you moving toward leaving, because being with each other is better than the alternative. The inside joke that forms after one shared experience, the shorthand that becomes yours, the thing that becomes a reference point between you that no one else shares. The protective gesture, something small, like making sure you have what you need, checking that you got home safely, the hand that briefly steadies you when you stumble, that says, "Your safety and well-being matter to me." The specific look, you know this one, the moment of eye contact that carries something in it, something warm, something specific, something that isn't quite like any other look you've ever gotten from this person or anyone else. The look that makes you think, "Was that what I think it was?" And then you think about it for approximately 3 days. The text sent late at night, not necessarily anything serious or deep, just something casual and light, but at a time that implies you were on their mind before they fell asleep. The "I'm glad we're friends" that they say in a tone that doesn't entirely convince either of you that friends is the whole story. These small, deliberate, carefully constructed expressions of unexpressed feeling are the language of attraction before it's ready to speak. They're the way that feeling finds its way out into the world when the direct door is still closed. They're the way your crush says you matter to me without saying it. And if you've been paying attention, really paying attention, with the tools and the understanding we've built together across this entire conversation, you'll hear it, you'll feel it, you'll know it for what it is. Bringing it all together, the psychology of reading the signals. We've covered 21 signs. That's a lot of ground, a lot of psychology, a lot of nuanced behavioral territory. And I imagine you've been doing a mental inventory this whole time, running through your memories of interactions with your crush, checking one sign against your experience and then another, feeling certain about some and uncertain about others. Let me give you a framework for pulling all of this together in a way that's useful rather than overwhelming. The cluster principle. No single sign is definitive. One sustained eye contact doesn't tell you anything certain. One moment of physical proximity proves nothing. One remembered detail, while lovely, isn't conclusive on its own. What matters, what tells the real story, is the cluster. How many of these signs are present? How many do you see consistently across multiple interactions, across different contexts? If you're seeing one or two signs, you might be dealing with a naturally warm, attentive person or with isolated moments that don't represent a pattern. If you're seeing 5, 6, 7 or more of these signs consistently, if when you go through this list you find yourself nodding repeatedly, recognizing each pattern in your specific situation, you're likely seeing something real. The consistency principle. A single interaction can be misleading. People have good days and bad days. People perform differently in different contexts. What matters is the consistent pattern across time and across different types of interactions. If your crush was particularly attentive once but has been neutral since, that's different from someone who has been consistently, reliably demonstrating interest across weeks or months of interaction. Think about the arc, not just the individual moments. The comparative principle, we've mentioned this throughout, but it bears emphasizing one more time. Always compare behavior toward you with behavior toward others. The signal isn't just the behavior in isolation, it's the specific application of that behavior toward you in a way that's distinct from how it's applied broadly. Do they remember details about everyone or specifically about you? Do they make sustained eye contact with everyone, or is there a particular quality when it's with you? The specificity of the signal, the fact that it's directed at you in a way that's different from the general social norm, is what gives it meaning. The integration principle. The signs we've discussed don't exist in isolation from each other. Attraction is an integrated experience. When someone genuinely likes you, you'll typically see multiple signs that reinforce and support each other. The person who remembers your details also leans in when you speak. The person who finds excuses to be near you also lights up when you enter the room. The person who initiates contact also makes full eye contact when you talk. These signs tend to cluster together because they're all expressions of the same underlying reality. This person is drawn to you, and that draw is expressing itself through multiple channels simultaneously. What to do with what you now know? Knowledge without application is just interesting information. So let's talk about what you actually do with the awareness you've built. First, sit with it. Don't immediately act on everything you've just learned. Give yourself time to genuinely observe and gather information. Go into your next few interactions with your crush with a quality of calm, curious attention rather than anxious scrutiny. Look for the patterns. Notice what's there and what isn't. Let the picture develop. Overanalyzing in the moment is counterproductive. It makes you less naturally yourself, which paradoxically makes it harder for genuine connection to flow. The goal is clear seeing, not hypervigilance. Second, reciprocate authentically. If, as you apply this knowledge, you find that yes, multiple signs are present, that yes, there is a consistent pattern of your crush demonstrating interest, one of the most powerful things you can do is reciprocate authentically. Be genuinely engaged. Ask your own thoughtful questions. Make real eye contact. Be present. Laugh genuinely. Open up a little. The best way to help a situation that's ripe for connection is to be fully, genuinely yourself. Not performing, not strategizing, but being real and present, and letting the natural chemistry of genuine mutual interest do its work. Third, consider creating an opportunity. If the signs are present, if you feel confident about what the pattern is telling you, consider whether you want to create a clearer opportunity for the connection to develop. This doesn't have to mean a grand, explicit declaration. It can be as simple as suggesting a one-on-one hangout. It can be a slightly more direct, genuine compliment. It can be finding a quiet moment to have a real conversation rather than group surface interaction. Attraction, as we've established, often exists in the realm of indirection. Sometimes what's needed is someone brave enough to step slightly more directly, to close the gap between the signals and the explicit reality. Fourth, manage your expectations with compassion. Even if all 21 signs are present, certainty is not possible without direct communication. People are complex, situations are complicated. Someone might like you enormously and still not be in a position to act on it for reasons that have nothing to do with you. The signals might be real, and the feelings might be real, and the timing might still be wrong. Bring compassion to this process. Compassion for yourself and compassion for your crush. The vulnerability of feeling something and not knowing if it's returned is universal. We've all been there. The courage to stay open to connection, to keep showing up authentically even in the uncertainty, is one of the most human and most admirable things we can do. The deeper psychology, why attraction is beautiful and hard. I want to close with something that isn't about signs or signals or behavioral indicators. Something about the deeper human truth underneath all of this. Attraction is disorienting. It rewires us. It makes us simultaneously more alive and more anxious. It makes us better versions of ourselves, more thoughtful, more engaged, more creative, more generous, and also more vulnerable than we're usually comfortable with. It makes us care about things we can't fully control. The reason we spend so much energy trying to decode whether someone likes us back, the reason this question matters so much, the reason it can keep us awake at night and occupy our thoughts in the middle of meetings and conversations that have nothing to do with it, is that connection is one of the deepest human needs we have. We are not built for isolation. We are not built for indifference. We are built for meaningful, real, genuine connection with other people, the kind of connection that starts often with exactly this experience. The terrifying, wonderful, completely disorienting experience of finding that one person who seems to matter in a different way, who catches your eye, who makes your heart do that thing. And the hope that they feel it too, that this feeling isn't one-sided, that there's something real here that might be met with something real in return, is not a sign of weakness or neediness or immaturity. It's a sign of being human. It's a sign of being alive to the possibility of love. The signs we've been through together are tools for seeing more clearly, for cutting through some of the fog and confusion that surrounds those early stages of connection, for helping you trust your instincts when the evidence supports them, and temper your hope when the patterns tell a more neutral story. But ultimately, beyond the psychology, beyond the behavioral analysis, beyond all 21 signs and the frameworks for interpreting them, the most important thing is to show up, to be present, to be genuine, to be brave enough to let people see who you really are, because the only connection worth having is the one built on the foundation of your real self being truly seen. Use what you've learned, see more clearly, trust yourself, and then, in whatever form makes sense for your specific situation, your specific person, your specific moment, be brave. Because the person across the room who keeps finding reasons to look at you, who remembers what you said 3 weeks ago, who lights up when you walk in, who finds reasons to be near you, who listens to you like you're the most interesting person in the room, that person is hoping for exactly the same thing you are. They're hoping you'll see it. Now you know how to look. Final words. We've covered an enormous amount of ground today. 21 signs, their psychological foundations, the research behind them, the practical ways they manifest, and the framework for interpreting them accurately. Let me do a rapid summary to crystallize everything we've discussed. Sign 1, lingering eye contact, the look away, the looking back. Sign 2, finding excuses for physical proximity, gravitating into your orbit consistently. Sign 3, remembering the details, the small things mentioned in passing, held for weeks. Sign 4, changing behavior when you enter the room, brightening, straightening, warming. Sign 5, consistent initiation, reaching out first, making plans, breaking the silence. Sign 6, laughing more around you, finding you funnier, seeking your reaction. Sign 7, specific social media engagement, consistent, tailored, personal. Sign 8, asking personal questions and really listening to the answers. Sign 9, finding reasons for appropriate physical touch, the hand on the arm, the lean. Sign 10, getting nervous in telltale ways, fidgeting, blushing, stumbling, over-preparing. Sign 11, their friends knowing about you and behaving accordingly. Sign 12, mirroring your body language, the synchrony of genuine connection. Sign 13, mild, involuntary jealousy, the protective caring that has no official right yet. Sign 14, going out of their way to help you, real investment, real effort. Sign 15, full presence when you're together, phones down, eyes up, genuinely with you. Sign 16, opening up in ways they don't with others, letting you see the real them. Sign 17, making specific plans and following through with consistency. Sign 18, mirroring your emotional states, genuinely celebrating and genuinely hurting with you. Sign 19, curiosity about your past and your future, imagining you in the full timeline. Sign 20, treating you noticeably, specifically differently than they treat everyone else. Sign 21, finding indirect ways to let you know you matter, the language of unexpressed feeling. If these signs are present in your life, if you recognize yourself and your crush in these patterns, trust what you're seeing. Trust the evidence. Trust your instincts, now that you have the language and the framework to understand what they're picking up on. And whatever happens next, however this particular story unfolds, know that the capacity to feel something real for another person and the courage to pay attention to whether it might be returned is something worth honoring. Good luck. Be brave. Be yourself. That's always been the most powerful move.